In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Title Agents Podcast. Today's episode, we have Chip Ridge, founder of Perpetual Title, a company serving multiple states and recently expanded into 1031 exchange. Chip has been leaning into automation, instant escrow funding, online fee transparency, and multi-state growth, all while navigating regulatory complexity and shifting market conditions. In this conversation, we're diving into where title is heading, what technologies actually matter, how agencies can diversify revenue, and what it takes to build a company that doesn't just survive market cycles, but grows through them. Well, Chip, welcome to the Title Agents Podcast. We always start the show with asking the questions, tell us your story, how you get started, and your education, family, background, all that good stuff.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to be on, as we shared before the call. A long-time listener, first-time caller, and really excited to be part of this. I think you're doing a wonderful job. We'll talk about my favorite subject, me. I am a father of four. One sort of little-known fact, or maybe well-known fact, depending how well you know me, is I have triplets.
Wow.
So 16-year-old triplets, and so they keep me working. So the one grace of God by them is that I get up every morning, and I do have a sense of urgency because I got to provide for them. But they're great. I'm married, been married for 25 years. Have a lovely supporting wife, Carrie. A shout out to her. In terms of how I got in the title industry, it's sort of an interesting story in the sense that, I listen to a lot of your callers, your guests, and a lot of it's family. They're grown up in it. They were, when they were younger, they got put in they were searching abstracts or whatever. My story is probably unique in the sense that I was in the boat business out of college. And long story short, the best way to make $1 million in the boat business is start with 3 million. So quickly sort of realized that was not a pathway for long-term economical success. And my wife we were starting to think about having a family, and she was like, you need to grow up and do something professional. Back when I'm aging myself a little bit, but I looked in the classified sections sort of begrudgingly and found manager insurance. And I'm like, I know insurance and I can be a manager. And lo and behold, went in and got a job with a company called Perpetual Title. I lived in Lexington, Kentucky. They were based in Michigan. If anybody know, the guy named Ken Lingenfelter, he had a huge operation in Michigan, Wisconsin, and sort of throughout that corridor. I worked for them for about a year, and then decided if I was going to go anywhere with them, I was going to have to move, and my wife was not wanting to do that. So I started my own company back in 2002. Been doing it. Sold to BB&T in 2007, and then got sort of the corporate piece. I got tired of that in 2015. Started a company called Millennial Title, and then now we rebranded in 2024. So just going on 2 years ago to Perpetual Title, and that's the company that we operate today.
So what problem were you aiming to solve when you started Millennial, your second title?
Yeah, it's funny, one of the name, nobody can spell it, and that's one of the reasons for the rebranding. But when I was like, they're going to be the largest homeowner group in the country, and they're also they want to do things differently than we've done in the traditional, whatever we are, Gen Zers, Gen Xers, I don't even know what we're, boomers. So you get called a lot of different things. But, they distill, they're actually of the internet age. So the idea was to really make it tech enabled and focus with the underpinnings of how do we meet the client where they need to be met. In theory, a really, I thought, sound strategy. The realities are people need to be met in a lot of different ways. And I think one of the takeaways I had out of sort of the early days of that is it is not one size fits all. You need to be careful when you want to go. I know we're going to get into some technology discussions later in the podcast, but it was a bit humbling and also eye opening to from a strategy standpoint of building out the tech and the go to market strategy.
Why the name Perpetual, and what does that represent to you?
So yeah, so perpetual is really around longevity and the fact that home ownership is the long game, and the idea that title is perpetual. That and what we do, if you really think about it, is it's all around. And a lot of people have no idea what we do. And that's why I love your podcast that you're sharing ideas around how do we connect with our clients in a more meaningful and potential way. So perpetuals around the home itself, but what we do in the titling side is to keep that in perpetuity so that that ownership doesn't get disrupted. So the work we do is important. And sometimes I think that gets sort of lost in the messaging.
What were some of the biggest lessons you learned early on as a founder?
Early when I was young and, naive, and now I'm old and naive, would be around the people. A lot of times, what I would make decisions that were not consistent, and it was based on people. And what I've learned and what we've really become focused on is creating a set of core values and sticking to them. And if the people don't match the core values, no matter how talented that person is, or how many clients they may have, or how much revenue they may bring in, they do not fit in your company. And you can't make exceptions to that because it really does um, infiltrate the culture of the company. And when I was young, I was candidly focused more on outcomes than inputs, and I think I've learned the hard way that the inputs matter.
So, you and I are big on technology, and when you say Title is heading into a tech supercharged world, what does that mean to you or look like to you?
You asked me today, and it might be different in a week. I've really dove in. 5 years ago, I sort of chased the blockchain rabbit hole, and I still, in my core, in my soul, I believe that a lot of that wasn't super misguided. But I also think it was the marketplace was not the technology stack and deployment, and more importantly, the framework wasn't ready for retail deployment. I think that's maybe starting to clear up a little bit, but save blockchain on the side. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see me talking about escrow X, and I do think payment rail systems are evolving and very fast. And I do think that some of the old traditional payment rails, the Swift and having to go to the bank and having a wire take hours or even days to hit, I think that's yesterland, but we're still holding on to it partially because the banks are sort of holding on to it. So I think our industry, because we deal with so much of that, and it's such an important part of what we do, that we have to lean in on that. The other piece that I'm very obviously, and it's a buzzword, and you talk about it a lot, but the large language models and the impact of they've been around for, as we know, for 10, 15 years, but with the power stack that NVIDIA has, the technology piece, the ability of the chips, and then the data centers catching up. And now the deployment, whether it be through Anthropic or OpenAI or Google or some of these other large language model producers, we're just seeing all of that happen at super speed, especially with OpenClaw and what you can do with the agentic piece of it. I'm just curious and not concerned, but definitely curious about where we end up. And I think it's going to be pretty mind blowing over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, it's AI is definitely real, and it's and
Yeah.
people. It's kind of scary. Majority of people have no clue. Like even
Well,
businesses, like they have no clue what's gonna hit.
well, I'm going to steal this from, I had a really interesting conversation with Nate Baker at Qualia. And he had a great, he sort of framed it. It was really good. He goes, it's like these aliens dropped out of the sky and they're walking around the street, and there's some of us that realize like there's aliens here. We probably need to do something about it. But there's a lot of people that are just walking around with their heads down. And so I think as an industry, um, really across the landscape, we can't have our heads down. We just can't. We have to we have to acknowledge it, and then we have to embrace it and figure out how do we use it to our benefit. So
What this has been saying this for like the last 3 or 4 years. Like the train left the station.
yeah,
Love it, hate it, it's irrelevant. It's
yeah,
it's just either on that train or you're not. Like literally, it's just whether you like it, hate it, it's nobody cares. It's just you're gonna be left behind. The whole point of this title by the podcast really to educate title agents about technology, and as you know, our industry is a little older and old school. So we kind of want to make sure people kind of just wake up a little bit. You don't need to wake up 1,000%, just like 5% to be aware what's around you. It's gonna go past you. Like going back to blockchain, I remember the first wave of blockchain, 2016, 2017. And I'm like, oh, it's going to take over the world, take over the talent industry. And like, I was freaking out. Like, well, how can I, how can I get into this? Like, and I went to a bunch of conferences and literally, and it kind of faded away. And the biggest challenge with blockchain was how to convince 3,800 county clerks or whatever that number is to adopt a blockchain and basically get rid of them. So that was like and I've seen companies go belly up. Like how many companies try to do it and they went out of business. The last man standing, if that I'm aware of, is Proppy, and now they're completely pivoted to basically being a private equity, buying a bunch of companies and going back to literally as a title agency and selling the whole blockchain, whatever that means. But AI is definitely is for real. And one about how do you use AI yourself? I know just lots of kind of bounce ideas here. And
yeah. High level. Like a lot of people started with just the chat piece of it, and it was great for just reviewing contracts and doing deep research. But recently are starting to build out some agents. So the idea around creating a level of agents. So we're going to have agents that one agent that does the order entry, and then we're going to have one agent that helps prepare the commitment. We'll have one agent that potentially manages, another layer of the workflow, and there'll be an agent above that to check their work. And then there'll be a human. There's always going to be, and I always share this with people, there's still going to be a human involved. I mean, nobody, I don't believe, would ever be comfortable buying and selling $1 million house and not have a significant level of human interaction involved. So that's the comfort food that I think I can share with all my fellow title and escrow agents out there. The part though I think we have to be aware of is we're going to have to be more productive leveraging those abilities. If you currently have somebody who's manually reviewing contracts and so forth and manually entering in that information, and you're at scale, if you're a small whatever, and you've got a very unique subset of clients and so forth, maybe this doesn't impact you quite yet. But if you're all tech, or you're, well, we're not where you are, but if you're of any type of, I would suggest scale, and you're not using this technology to help enhance your workflow, and when you start to think about, okay, I need to order another data entry clerk, I would argue that's probably not the best use of resources. Like the tools already there. Why would you not be hiring another customer service relationship person that's going to be forward facing and developing, they got to know you, like you, trust you. They're never going to know, like, and trust an AI agent. But so yeah, that's the way I'm thinking about it. It is hard though, Mo, no doubt. It's hard to get the team comfortable with some of this. And that's really where I have to every day, really massage it and support so that they don't get intimidated and then also discouraged and then your culture starts to become one of where the people they're like, what's going on? Am I going to lose my job? I mean, that's not what we're trying to achieve here.
The early phase of AI was more of just kind of a better Google search than
Yeah.
than content writing for marketing. Like now, the way I use it is as a thought partner. It's an incredible, like you give it a defined role. You're a world class strategist in whatever finance or marketing. Then have it going to be that CEO coach or thought partner, and it's insane. Like the way it makes you think and the kind of the questions it asks you, kind of go back and forth, kind of just to define strategy and how to communicate. It's incredible. And now the next phase, which is like you talk about OpenClaw. I'm trying to figure out how to set up OpenClaw. I think I'm going to give up and go to commercial route. I'm not a programmer at heart, and it's
Yeah.
it's a whole new world. But agentic AI is definitely here, and we looked at and Qualia has that Qualia AI Clear, but it was way too expensive. We kind of passed on that. We're trying to build something ourselves, so that way, kind of something we can control ourselves. Very similar to you. We can definitely talk offline and continue this
Yeah.
conversation. Just it's fascinating to me. So,
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. 100%.
so how have tools like your fee calculator and instant escrow funding improved efficiency or client experience at Perpetual?
Yeah. I think going back to that mantra of trying to meet the client where the client wants to be met. I mean, that's our North Star, at least currently, because it's a very competitive landscape, as you know, and this marketplace with lower transactional volume and some of the other challenges, macroeconomic challenges that we just can't control. As I said, the only thing we can control is the client experience, and if we laser focus on that, we should have some success. The tools that we roll out, albeit none of them are like mind bending from a technology standpoint, the UX is important. That's the one thing I learned from the blockchain
So you had
stuff.
UX means user experience for
Yeah, sorry, yeah. We always talk about make it for a fifth grader, and that's not to say that we're selling homes to a bunch of fifth graders, but I do think you can't assume anybody has a certain knowledge base going in. A lot of times, how many times do people, especially in today's world where affordability and rate environment is the lock-in effect, you might buy or sell a home every 5, 6, 7 years. We wish it maybe was a little bit more, but that's the world we live in today. So you have to just make some baseline assumptions that not everybody's going to be super comfortable with all of the technology that you provide. So we try to stick to basic core tools. And then if there's somebody who's more sophisticated, or maybe they're an investor and they're going to buy more and stuff, we'll bring in tools like Ron, which is remote online notary. Obviously, eSign's been around for a long time. Some people love it, some people don't. So we really do try to meet the client where they're comfortable. If we do that, then I think we'll do well.
Yeah, you have to be a residential resale world. You have to be
Yeah.
flexible. You have, I think it can set, you can do some automation, high level automation like refinances, but purchase, the realtor controls the transaction. It's just
Mhm. Yeah.
tell
Yep.
us how you want it done, kind of thing.
Yeah, we've tried the other way. No, I mean, I've talked about, yeah. I mean, I've heard you talk a lot. We've tried to force feed stuff and it makes a lot of sense to us, but it doesn't matter. I always say it really doesn't matter if the client doesn't and a lot of time our client is the realtor. So that's who we're really
Yeah.
working with. So
Have you, I don't know if you have an answer to this. Have you seen any measurable ROI or return on investment from implementing automation tools by any chance? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we plugged in Close Simple as part of our tool for it's essentially our pizza tracker. So it sends automated updates out on
Are
top.
you
We
are
use
you on Qualia, Chip?
we're on SoftPro.
Software, okay.
Yeah, and so we've had to bolt on some
Yep.
tools on. I will say Qualia is probably a more encompassing a platform. What we've done with SoftPro is we have brought in, through APIs and so forth, we've added layers of interfacing and interoperability, the buzzword that we all love to use. So, but no, Close Simple has been a really good one because it replaces some of the outbound communication that we were doing manually. And the agents typically, as long as they're getting updates, they feel good about, oh, this thing's moving. We're getting closer to closing. So we're having to deal with less inbound traffic and they have a better experience, which is what we really are geared towards.
Yeah. The when we're trying to kind of find a balance between automation and human touch, what should title companies automate aggressively?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the back end stuff. So I think order entry and really the internal file management piece of it. Now the actual underwriting, having a set of eyes on the title work, that still needs to be human touch. We do not automate a whole lot of the escrow experience at this point. We've looked at that, doing automated CDs and so forth. What we found is using templates, we can almost get to where we need to be. And the reason being is that we still want that human touch between our closer and the lender because there's a marketing opportunity there. We want our touch between our closer and the realtor because there's a marketing opportunity, even though we don't necessarily say it out loud, that human interaction, that final, but then like policy, remittance and production, that can all be done through an automated process. Even the recording piece, we're getting a lot better at using Simple File and some of the other e-recording tools to just get that done and, very, very efficiently. So if somebody said, I think the buzzword is, well, 80% will go to automation. I don't know if I'm in that camp, even though you probably could get there. Refis, you and I both know you could probably get to 95%. But I think with purchase, which is the world we mainly live in, I would say we're going to try to get to 50 to 60% automated and then have about 40% of it human touch.
How are you thinking about cybersecurity and fraud prevention as more
Oh,
processes become digital?
that is a big piece of it, and so we lean on our vendor partners, with, like, payments. There's some really good tools out there. Close Simple actually has a identity verification tool, for, like, seller fraud, and they actually they're partnered with payments to do a wire instruction verification product. The key is you have to make sure your team is 100% committed to using those tools. You can't because it's late in the game and everything's sped up. You can't bypass the process, because and then we're this is new, but FinCEN is we're working. So Mo, I'll answer your question like this: we heavily work with third party vendors that are very laser focused on those specific situations because we find that they bring the most robust solution and they also have the best education for our team
And it's
'cause
not
it
even
really is
optional. It's not even optional anymore.
no,
We were we kind of put it back burner until like 3 years ago. We got hit with cyber fraud. Luckily, we recovered the majority of the funds. Now I'm like we got to do it now. And it
yeah,
just the beauty of it, like it's just kind of almost like multi-step authentication to prevent the fraud, verifying the bank accounts, identity, and also these companies have another layer of insurance, which is
yeah.
fantastic. So it kind of literally adds a little peace of mind. Doesn't mean we're immune. It just kind of literally you can just keep layering different layers of security or the prevention and risk mitigation.
We just had a situation literally yesterday, a buyer out of California. Nothing against, we love California. They were buying a horse farm in Kentucky. It didn't seem though to add up. We ran their ID through the close simple partnership, and it flagged it.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was fraudulent. I don't quite trying to figure out what they were trying to accomplish. At some point, I think they were going to be availed to not be legitimate, but we were able to sort of, we mitigated it like the second the contract came in. So the agents were able to just call everything off immediately. And they were very appreciative because they were going to do some heavy lifting. It was a sizable transaction. So we saved some people some valuable time.
You save that realtor from spending that money.
Yes, exactly.
He's already have gone to spend
Yep.
that commission before even.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially, yes, for sure. Good point.
So you're in a multi-state operation. What operational shifts are required to scale across multiple states? I know it's not easy and it's very painful.
Yeah, and you know, we back when we did a lot more on the refi side, we were in like 20 something states, and the marketplace obviously has shifted, and we made a business decision to really pare back some of that. So every state we're in now, we have bricks and mortar. When you do get into the purchase market specifically, we look very much at our underwriters too as partners. So we build a close relationship with each of the local underwriters, council and agency management group, and we feel very strongly that it is a partnership, and so that's really helped us because sometimes as you go into a new market, there is nuance to each market. You know, maybe the workflow nuance, maybe it's legal nuance, but I think it's important that you have a very intentional relationship because they're the ones that are writing that insurance product. I'm speaking from an independent agent model, and you know, if you can get their buy-in and sign off, you're. I'm not saying you're 100% absconded, but it's definitely helpful. So yeah, we really lean in on those relationships.
So besides building that relationship with the underwriters, what advice would you give agencies looking to expand beyond one state?
You know, I always say the hardest is getting from 0 to 10 orders in any market. If you're truly going to go in as what we call de novo, you're not going to acquire a partner or whatever. You're actually going to sort of stick your flag in the ground. So you have to be prepared for that. So, you know, going back to the people piece of it, um, you know, one of the things that we look at, and we look at 26 for us at Perpetual as a good year to start to plant more seeds for growth. You know, 2025 candidly wasn't as great as we were hoping. I mean, I think a lot of agents share that. It was always survive till 25. And I think 25 was sort of, it wasn't down, but it didn't pop like we had hoped. One of the things that we have done mindfully is, and this ties into multi-state, we've also added a lot more commercial capabilities. But that's its own silo. We don't cross pollinate. The
Different
commercial
beast.
stays on the commercial side of the fence. One thing is you'll end up frustrating your team if you start having them go back and forth, and then you'll definitely frustrate your client. So you have to really silo those. But the state piece of it is I think you just have to be prepared for, you know, getting that lift off and really, you know, be prepared for it to be harder than you ever anticipated. Because we've been in and out of some markets where we sort of flew in and we thought, oh, this is a great market, everybody's here, it's going to be great. And candidly, that's not a great strategy. It's not. So,
It's which one is first, chicken or the egg? It's all the
yeah,
sales.
yeah,
All the
yes.
sales don't expand.
Yep, you're right. You fake it till you make it on the operations side, but the sales you can't fake that one.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So I know you expanded to 1031 exchange services. What led you to add 1031 exchange?
so tying into that, when we made a more thoughtful commitment to commercial, it just made a lot of sense. We're having a lot of investors that were coming to us, and we started to realize that we were referring out a lot of 1031s, which was okay. We had a really good 1031 partner, but they sometimes they would be like, oh, okay. And then they'd go somewhere else that could do it all under one roof. So just that one-stop shop. And then from a financial aspect, if you can get a nice pipeline of 1031 properties that you get the buy and the sell typically, or the sell and the buy. And you can, depending on who your 1031 financial partner is, there's some interest income that can be earned. And it's accretive for us in somewhat of a meaningful way. So, but I would say more the convenience factor, to be candid. I think that's more important to us than anything.
And I want to commend you for making that strategic shift to trying to switch to commercial. In a perfect world, I would love to be 90% commercial versus residential. If
Yeah, yes.
you pay attention to First American, Fidelity's quarterly earnings, they were like up 20-30% revenue all in commercial.
Yeah.
It tells you something. Okay, we don't want data center deals. We just want like $5, $10, $20 million deals.
Yeah.
With like leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
That's a
No doubt.
nuisance to the
You and me, hey, you and me both. We're right on the same plane there. Just give me your scraps.
exactly. So what should agency owners understand before entering 1031 exchange if they want to kind of make a shift to the space?
So what we did, which is sort of it was in some regard a little bit the path of least resistance. We found a partner that had a technology platform built and ready to plug into. So for us, we had to do some education, but they provide a lot of those resources. And I think it's about finding the right intermediary partner. I know there's some that go it and do it 100% on their own. I would suggest that takes a unique skill set that we were not prepared to have. So we really lean on our vendor partner, and they provide us, the tools, the software, which is the most important piece of it, from the paperwork and the compliance. And they also have a staff for like any type of questions or challenges, and we're very lean into them on that a lot, because we want to make sure our clients get the right answer. We don't want to
Until
ever.
Chip, until you and I build an agent in this 1031.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's real. There's no doubt about it.
So do you believe diversification into adjacent services is essential for long-term survival? Especially we go to a lot of ups and downs. Now,
Yeah, and I think about that a lot because I think the way I look at it is, if we're not careful, the opposite is starting to happen with our referral partners. You're seeing it with Redfin and Rocket, and they've got AmRock underneath them. I would be shocked if, depending if Berkshire Hathaway stays in the real estate world for the next 10, 15 years, if they don't want to own every chunk of the revenue stream. We know with builders they already do a lot of that. So I look at it as, okay, how do I compete? Um, and one of the things, and I think if you follow once again some of my LinkedIn posts, and we've tried to position a product called the Chip Shot, somewhat narcissistic name, but it's really around golf. But the idea of bringing title to the consumer, trying to get us at higher up in the sales funnel, so we're not so positioned at the bottom of the sales funnel, and connecting with the consumer. It's not a direct to consumer play per se, but I think it's about, if you really think about this, Mo, or at least how I think about it, title should be one of the first things people do in the transaction. We should never fall below appraisal or even home inspection, if you ask me, because if the title isn't ready and to go, nothing else matters. It doesn't. And I think somehow we've lost our positioning of
with
that.
in the West Coast,
Yep.
like the tip, it's called the search and hold. Like it's very common part of the listing. You do the search, then the
Yeah.
agent has that part. It's like it's different parts of the country, different
Yeah.
customs.
Yeah. And that's what I find in like California and Washington and some
Yeah.
other areas, Oregon. But if you go, as you just head east, that's really not in the way the workflow is built. And to me, it's a head scratcher, because I would think, and the thought behind the Chip Shot really though was to connect with the consumer, give them something that was actually once again, that fifth grader, the USA Today, give them title that they can understand, very visual in the context of we do at a golf course, but front nine, back nine, and really breaking it down. Here's who owns the property. Here's with the mortgage. Here's the tax. Here's the lien. And so the idea is to get them comfortable with what the roadmap to closing looks like, because, this is going back to a lot of people. This is, they'll do this 4 or 5 times in their lifetime. So we can't expect them to know all of what we're doing and why we do it.
So let's look into the future. What will a winning title company look like in 2030?
Wow, 2030. That's close, but yet so far away, right? In the world of AI, that's like 28
Decades.
versions of iterations of there'll be the large language models, God knows where they'll be in 6 months, yet 4 years. Um, I think that it's a great question, and I'm really struggling with how do we. I think about it this way: how do we stay relevant as a product? And that is going to be a combination of our ability to provide that efficient workflow, um, and deliver, really high level service, which goes without. But I asked the question, Mo, and I don't have the answer, so to speak. I think it's curiosity, but what does the product really look like? That's my question. Like, I think the product has to evolve. I mean, we have sort of stuck around on this, this is our product and this is the way it's going to be. And I just wonder if the product changes, because of the tools and the resources and the ability, go back to really the last thing I'll share on the blockchain, circling all the back. You were way ahead of the curve. Think about it. You were 2016. I mean, that was eons ahead of the curve. But now with AI, we could go into these municipalities and put all that stuff in probably a day. I mean, Google put the Library of Congress, and this is what, 10 years ago. So you and I know the technology could
It's
do it
it's
in.
been here for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just about deployment and exception and regulation and all that. So I don't know. I'm not answering your question. I'm sort of talking around it, but I think it's a great question. And I think it's one that we have to continue to reflect on. Um, and I go back to EOS now. We run on EOS. We break
Same
things
here.
down to 90 days. We have our rocks.
The rocks.
We know what our 3 and our 5, our 3 and our 10 year is and our 1 year. But really, I think you have to stay in that 90-day zone, because it things you have to, course correct if
Mm.
something were to come up. So
For those of you that may not know what EOS is, it's an entrepreneur operating system. Is a way to run meetings, run your goals quarterly, 3 year, 10 year, and everything is kind of filtered into quarterly goals, which is the rocks. It's I highly, highly recommend kind of really looking into it. And the book to read is Traction by Gino Wickman, if you want to kind of get to understanding of EOS.
yeah, it's awesome. And if you do it, you can get they have like an implementer and you get a big binder and, it's a commitment though. Your company, it's like a lot of these things now. I mean, you can't just sort of do it. It's either part of your DNA or what we found is going back to the core values. That was my light bulb moment. Sounds sort of corny or whatever, but if everybody in your company understands and supports the core values, a lot of the drama, as I like to say, and the HR piece sort of gets sorted out, which
It's almost
is
like when
good.
you run by core values, like a self-managed company in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you self-select. I mean, a lot of times, like what we found is people who couldn't really get behind the core values, and one of ours is all in. We are all in on what we're doing. And so the people that weren't all in, because it's tough, it's a tough environment and people are frustrated because it's not as easy as it used to be. They self-selected out. They really did. They just said, it's not for me.
Will physical offices still matter?
My thesis is yes, and because we've tried the virtual, we've tried to use Ron, we've tried to use we work with a large notary network obviously east side. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of our business is still they've got to know you, like you, trust you. And how do they do that? It's person to person interchange. It's that physical connection. So I think offices will still matter. I think they're going to look maybe different. And I think, we've really redeployed. We used to do more of like the traditional, we wanted our offices are still nice, but we've definitely put less emphasis on the structure and the physical plant, and we put more on just utility. Is it easy to get to? And we'll go to their office and do stuff, and so flexibility is one of our core values. So we're a lot more flexible.
Are independent agencies positioned to thrive, or will consolidation dominate?
Great question. I am concerned that consolidation is my concern.
And
I'm cheering the small independent. I worry that the amount of resource requirement that for technology and the pivot that we're probably all going to be forced to really address is going to be really, really hard for the smaller guys to. It was sort of like when Trid first hit and everybody had to switch all of their workflows, and you saw some of the old school law firms, nothing against them, but
yeah,
they just opted out. They said, you know what? This seems like way more
work.
than it's worth. I think we're going to hit an inflection point where you're going to start to see a lot of smaller guys, um, you know, end up pivoting out.
What metrics do you personally watch most closely?
We're big on revenue per employee, which
Wow.
maybe sounds sort of. I mean, whenever I used to say it, it was when I was younger. I was like, that's all I would talk about because it was a good marginal revenue, marginal cost. When we were really growing, it was a great way for me to sort of understand. Okay, when I add people, is it moving the needle, or am I adding people just to add people?
In that metrics, sales reps, contractors, or everybody, or just W2 employees, or
Just W-2 employees. Yeah.
okay.
So that's one. But honestly, my KPIs on today's world are, I look at obvious order count, um, the revenue in the pipeline. We run a dashboard sort of showing what that is, and then we do orders per employee. But we get granular too on our marketing reps. We really try to, and our marketing reps are not usually the tradition. They're not going out and just dropping and going. I mean, our marketing reps are pseudo hybrid, so they touch the file. They're typically going to be the person you see at the closing and the loan. So yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we are constantly trying to fully understand what KPIs we really, really are like going to die on the hill on. And we're still a work in process even on that some days. So
Awesome. Uh, do you have a favorite book or one that you
uh,
read recently?
a lot of I have a couple of so I just read this the science of scaling, and it's funny, it's sort of talks a lot about Elon Musk and how he sort of, you think about all of and the reason that I think it's interesting is that it really does force you to think in shorter batches of time, which I think in today's world is that's relevant context to me. Um, I've also got on my computer, persistence will pay off. So they're almost like not at odds, but it's sort of a two guiding lights. But the science of scaling was just about going sort of all in and pushing yourself. And I think as title agents right now, we do have to go all in on like keeping our product where it's not becomes, I've seen some posts recently, and I'm trying to remember who put them out there, but some really influencers in our space around, how we're under attack of the value proposition. I just think it's on us. We have to be proactive around the value proposition. We can't expect people just to figure it out.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Well, I've got your persistence will pay off. My other one, that's not really a quote. That's just more of a guiding. I used to do the buck stops here, but that was my young, like, sort of like full of myself piece. But yeah, I would say the other one I've sort of trying to lean on in today's world is fighter pilot calm. How do I stay here through a world that is just throwing a lot at us? And
That's
that's
awesome.
hard. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was tons of wisdom, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Any final words to our audience?
Just I think we got to stay all in, and this AI is you said it, Mo. It's binary. It's not optional. It's there's and that can be scary if you let it be, or if I think if you surround yourself with the right group. Like you said, you're building out agents, and you're gonna. That's what we're talking about doing is bringing somebody in to help because we still have to run our business, and that's the hard part is balancing what's happening today. You have somebody sitting across wanting to buy a house, and we're going to do it in the traditional ways, but we know there's some new things that we're going to have to bring in. So balancing that. And then finally, just thanking you, man. I think what you're doing is awesome. It's good to have somebody in our industry really out there keeping the curious questions, going and bringing in people a lot smarter than me onto your show to share wisdom and have these type of conversations. So thank you for doing it. Really do.
And my pleasure. Well, Chip, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was an amazing interview with Chip. That was tons of insight and nuggets and looking at the future. It was incredible. Really enjoyed it. Well, if you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a review and most importantly, subscribe. Till next time.
In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey